Hi, I'm Stuart Landon.
And I'm Karen Ruch.
So the play we're doing, Every Brilliant Thing, has a list. I guess that's kind of the other character in the play.
Yes.
It's like, it's a one-person show, but like...
It's a list of everything brilliant about the world.
Everything worth living for. We have gathered some of our friends for some conversations to discuss their brilliant things.
Yes.
Can't wait. It's going to be awesome. You could go to openstagehbg.com to get tickets for the show. So sit back and relax and enjoy a brilliant conversation with some brilliant friends that we've brought along for the brilliant ride. It's brilliant. We have Peter Kessler.
Oh, yes.
Rabbi Peter Kessler, who is a good friend of the theater, fantastic human. You can watch him every Friday night streaming from the synagogue.
Absolutely.
Very powerful speaker. He studied in Second City.
I did not know
Yes, yeah, and has the most fascinating life and so many wonderful stories to tell. I can't wait to see what his list is. Well, thank you so much for being here, Rabbi Kessler. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
We, as you know, are doing a production in September of a play called Every Brilliant Thing. In that play, my character has created a list of everything brilliant in the world, everything worth living for. And there's a few rules that I didn't tell you about, but that's okay. And then we'll chat about perhaps, because we would be very interested in knowing what maybe some of your brilliant things are.
Sure.
But he goes by a few rules in the play.
Sure.
The first one is that he doesn't really present them in any particular order.
Okay.
So it's not about the importance. In the play, I talk about how you really objectively can't say that Spider-Man is better than
spaghetti and meatballs.
Yeah, spaghetti.
How do you
pick? Yeah. So even though one of them may fall later in the list, it doesn't necessarily mean that you like it more, need it more, or think it's more brilliant.
Right.
Secondly, what was the second rule? I can't remember. I just threw it in my head.
So it shouldn't be too many material things.
Right. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be. Yeah, it doesn't have to be the things in your life.
Right.
The stuff in your life.
Right. Moments or moods or
feelings or sounds or
right.
Yeah.
Non-tangible things.
Yeah. And there was a third rule we were going to say this morning too.
Oh, he doesn't want to repeat in his list.
Right.
Because he has a million things on his list, which that's quite a feat to not repeat.
The list is created in the play when the character is going through a lot of stuff. The list initially is created for his mother, who is going through a lot of things as well. And his hope is to lift her up into the light rather than the darkness. And that space is something that he returns to several times. That list is something he returns to several times throughout his life, in times when he needs to be lifted up. And so I think it's just stuff you can turn to. What stuff can you turn to that comes to your mind?
So I'm thinking of things that have happened in the past.
Okay.
That when I'm feeling down, I remember those moments in my life. And I have many. I have many. For a number of reasons. One, because I've been around for a while. I'm not in my 20s. And number two, I've lived through some very, very historic times in my life. And some of those moments that I've lived through remind me of why I'm here, why I'm sitting in this chair, why I'm living in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, why I'm a rabbi, why I'm a caregiver, why I do hospice work, why I like to be on the couch and read. And there have been moments in my life that I remember that are historic for me. I think, you mentioned that these aren't in order of importance. The most important moment in my life, of course, is my son Floyd. Floyd gives me joy just knowing that he's breathing wherever he is. Right now he's away in college. I'll talk more about Floyd because there are a lot of historic moments in Floyd's life. But I was almost 45 years old when my ex David and I used a surrogate to be blessed with Floyd. So a lot happened before that. What happened was I was growing up at a time when the world was telling me no, And I was telling the world yes. And one of the moments that gives me so much pleasure when I have my down moments are the fact that I actually became a rabbi. That I actually said to the rabbinical school, look, you may think that because I'm a gay man, I'll never have a pulpit, but don't worry about that, because I know I will. And they said, no, go find something else to do, Peter. And I said, no, this is what I'm going to do. And you're going to do the right thing, and you're going to help me. And I think I have a lot of those moments about telling people, listen for a moment, let me help you help me, and let me help you. The other thing about my life that gives me a lot of pleasure when I think back on things that I've accomplished is the whole AIDS crisis. Because when I was in my 20s, AIDS was called GRID, gay-related immune deficiency. And I was lucky enough to be living in Chicago at a time when I could tell people that gay people weren't going to be murdering the rest of the world, which is what people thought in the early 80s. And I was blessed to become friends with Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah is somebody who really was an important part of my life because she helped me do a lot of fundraising when we began to call GRID AIDS. And I was lucky enough to be on her show to talk about it. And she always felt blessed that she was able to help me raise money in Chicago to try and combat AIDS. And AIDS had a lot to do with my becoming a rabbi, because I was very involved with a synagogue with an outreach to the gay and lesbian community in the late 70s and early 80s. And my friends became sick and died. And it's very, very hard to be in your 20s and watch your friends die. And in those days, members of the clergy, not only Jewish, Catholic, Protestant, Lutheran, every denomination, turned their back on people who were dying of AIDS, probably because of fear. I think fear is what drives a lot of people to do very unhealthy things. And I decided that I was not only going to take care of my friends, but I was going to become a rabbi and do what I can to change the world. So there was one moment in my life that I will never forget. And that is the Gay Pride Parade in Chicago in 1983. And I was asked by Chicago's mayor at the time, Harold Washington, to give a speech at a rally that had hundreds of thousands of people. And the reason there were so many people there is because the American Nazi Party decided they were having a counter rally at the Gay Pride rally. And I was the speaker. And I gave a speech. I give a speech every Friday night. You can come to Temple and listen, but, this was a big speech. Yep. And I riled everyone up about how we need to take care of each other, how we need to stand up for our rights, how we need to tell the haters they can't hate us anymore, and that we are worthy to be human beings. And after the speech and after the rally, which was after the parade, people start walking back to Boys Town, which is the neighborhood in Chicago on Halsted Street where we were all living. And I was dating a guy who lived in a courtyard building. And I was going over to see him after the speech. And I started walking through the courtyard. It was June, Pride Month, and all the windows were open. And somebody shouted out a window, "Oh my God, there's Peter Kessler." And big deal, right? And soon all of these faces came into these open windows and started to applaud. And I'm standing in this courtyard surrounded by people who saw my worth. And that's one of the touchstone moments in my life when I felt less than whole I would remember the people who saw my worth. And when my ex-partner and I decided that we were going to become parents and people thought that this doesn't happen, I said, oh yes, I have my worth. And now today, as my son Floyd, who is the most important part of my life, is about to be turning 21 years old. Yeah, wow. Big deal. Very big deal to have a son who's 21. I recognize my worth. And one of the ways of having that be part of who I am was when Floyd, who was born in the wrong body, was born as our daughter, told us that he needed to become our son. And how I was able, with the help of my ex, to help our child become who he needed to be. And as I look back, I have no plans on leaving this earth, God willing, for a very long time. I still consider myself young. I have a lot of living left to do. But as I look back, I realize that if each and every one of us, at the moments in our lives, feel less than whole, we can remember what we accomplished and look back and say, what's next? One of the gifts of this crazy pandemic over the last year is that it has really changed all of us. We have all become different people. And some of us are happy with who we become, others are less than happy, but all of us have a blank slate because for the first time, really since the AIDS crisis, we could get sick and die at any moment. And even though most of us are vaccinated now with the Delta variant, we're nervous again. We're nervous again. And we can all reach into our soul when we need to, as I do, and say, when I'm frightened, I can remember what I did and look forward to what's coming next.
When you were, because I know that as part of your work, you talk to people sometimes when they're in a pretty dark time. Yes. I imagine that they might come to you for one reason or another. And when you speak to them, is this something that you talk to them about when it comes to looking at the good moments in your life, or the list of brilliant things, or the things that give you joy? Is that something that's part of your conversation with them?
It's part of my life. It's part of what I do at the synagogue, at Hospice of Central Pennsylvania. I'm now on the board of the LGBT Center. It's what I do. Mm-hmm. It's what I do. And I think if you looked in the dictionary and looked up the phrase, "Don't worry, it gets better," I'm there. I'm there. I'm the person who says, "Don't worry, it gets better." And I've had dark times. I had dark times in my childhood and dark times in my teens, and sometimes I have dark times now. But I can reach in and take something out. We a lot of gay people have this wonderful connection with The Wizard of Oz. My favorite movie. I worship Judy Garland. I mean, absolutely.
I'm a friend of Dorothy.
I am a friend of Dorothy's.
Yeah.
You bet I am.
Oh, yeah.
You bet I am. And one of the scenes that I like best in the movie, which is just so beautiful to watch, is a very dark scene where the wizard reaches into his bag and he takes things out that the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion really need. And when he gets to Dorothy, she says, "I know there's nothing in that black bag for me." And those of us who are friends of Dorothy know oftentimes there is nothing in that black bag for us. And we have to create what we need from our own black bag. We can be the wizard. We can find it inside. And when I work with people at the LGBT Center who are marginalized, when I talk with people of color who are frightened to walk down the street, when I talk to trans people who are scared, especially trans kids whose parents don't understand them, and I think to myself, there is nothing in the black bag that I can give you except the understanding that you have and have always had what you need to get back to Kansas right there. And we all need to get back to Kansas in one way or another.
Yeah.
And God willing, we will.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I can't wait to see you at the show.
Oh my
Be
gosh,
there.
yeah, I can't wait. No,
Be there.
Yeah, we'll talk. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'll be
I need
there.
you to see this. That way you can. I want the reactions. I want to share a glass of wine afterwards and let me know what you think.
I'm around. I'm not going anywhere. I'm around. I'm
Awesome.
around.
Cool.
I'm around.
Thank you.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.